On today's video, we are going to make pistachio honey gelato. It's delicious and it's surprisingly easy to make. Yeah, pistachio is actually one of my mum's favorite ice cream flavors, and it's been quite a while since I made it, to be fair. Back when we were in the UK is when I made it last. It's not as difficult as people make out, and we're going to go through it today. We're going to reduce, as it's gelato, it's higher sugar. So if you don't know, there's a whole video that I'll put a link in. I'll probably put it up here and down in the description that describes the differences between American ice cream and gelato, which is traditionally Italian. In the short, gelato is lower fat than American ice cream, but much higher sugar. And it also has less overrun. So though the overrun we can't really control in some home ice cream machines, even less in a Ninja Creami, but we can still do things because by the inclusion of a stabilizer like guar gum or xanthan gum, we can increase overrun a little bit in the lower cost machines, which is perfect for the home user. So without further ado, let's see what we need for this delicious honey pistachio gelato. You are going to need 226 grams of cream, around 33 to 35% fat, 1,208 grams of milk, either 2% or 3.25%, so that's semi-skimmed or full fat milk, 205 grams of sugar, 154 grams of honey, 50 grams of skim milk powder, optionally 4 grams of almond extract. You're also going to need 150 grams of roasted salted pistachios, 50 grams of finely chopped chocolate between 60 and 70%, and then your optional stabilizer. Now, it sounds like a lot going in, and there's some things that you don't have to put in there. The chocolate itself, that's a shaved chocolate, so that's a personal preference. Having some shaved chocolate throughout this makes it just incredibly good. So I do recommend that. Stabilizer is always optional, as I say, but it does make your ice cream really, really good, much better, and it gives it decent longevity in the freezer as well. Plus it reduces the ice crystal formation, so your ice cream is delicious whenever you want to eat it. So without further ado, what we need to do is get our liquids measured into a pan and just get them warming up. So let's do that. I'm going to use a stabilizer, so I'm going to take my 5 grams of sugar. I'm going to use part of my 442 blend. There we go. 4 grams. It's in a special ingredients tub, but it's not what's in there. Recommend you go and watch one of my videos on ice cream stabilizers if you're interested in getting into that kind of thing. Really does make ice cream, even Ninja Creami recipes, much, much better. So there's that. We have our honey and our skim milk powder. So it's kind of optional, the skim milk powder in this recipe. It's a bit low in milk solids without it, and it really does create that perfect texture by adding it. The point of skim milk powder is to increase milk solids, so milk proteins, without adding any more liquid. You can do that in a commercial environment by reducing during the pasteurization phase, and it will reduce the amount of liquid, which will then subsequently increase the amount of milk solids and protein. You can kind of do that at home by, as you warm up your mixture on a hob, you will cause evaporation of the liquids, or the water specifically, and that will increase your milk solids, but it's quite difficult to gauge that. That's why we use it. That's why it's super important. Stir that together. Honey, I'm using this. This is a local honey. Old Grumps honey is perfectly named for me. This is unpasteurized, but use what's right for you. We're going to put this on a hob and just get it warming up. This stabilizer will need ATC 185F, so let's get it up to that point and then we'll take it off the heat and bring it back here. Whilst we do that, we're going to deal with our pistachios. So pistachios, if you have a Costco around you, that's the cheapest place to buy them by a long shot, by a Kentucky mile. Roasted salted pistachios. I mean, they're delicious. One of the big crossover flavors is the use of almond extract in pistachio ice cream. And that is historically done because they share a lot of flavonols and flavonoids, which means that when you make a pistachio ice cream, you can boost that pistachio flavor by the addition of almond extract. You don't want to go too far with the almond extract because then you're just making almond ice cream with some nuts in it. And that is an optional ingredient here. You can, because this is a large batch, you can add 4 grams of almond extract. You also don't have to add that much. You can add just a touch because this is a pistachio honey gelato. So it's a combination flavor. But what we're going to do is we're going to start with 150 grams of our pistachios. Make sure you don't allow your honey to burn on the bottom of your pan. Keep it moving. 150 grams of pistachios. What we're going to do is we're going to put these in a little mini blender, and we're going to blend these for quite a while. In this blender, anyway, this is only a little baby one. You're not going to be able to turn this into paste in this without the addition of a liquid, and that's what we're going to do after our base is ready. You've seen what the pistachio paste now looks like. It goes quite hard. Just to recap, like this. And that's because there's not a lot of liquid in here, and this blender isn't powerful enough to turn this into like a butter, like a peanut butter, pistachio butter. So what we need to do is just add a bit of liquid. Now, historically, you will see people online saying, oh, you shouldn't add liquid to any kind of nut butter because you'll make it split or you'll make it seize. Well, that's not really the case because actually what you need to do is just add more. So we're going to start off by just adding a couple of spoonfuls of our hot milk and get it blending again. There we go. Quick check on the sides. Check down the bottom. Beautiful. And what you're left with is this glorious pistachio paste that is absolutely perfect for our gelato. So let's get all of that into here. Just going to stir that together. Right, with that stirred together, we're not going to add any artificial colorings. This is a natural pistachio color. You can add green food coloring if you want to really bring that green right out, but I don't think we need to. So we're going to chill this in the fridge. There's a lot of nut solids in here, so you're going to get some floating to the top. You might even get some dropping to the bottom. Don't stress about it. That's what it's going to do. So if you want to chill this down in an ice bath, then do that. I'm just going to put this in the refrigerator because I want those flavors of that honey and those pistachios to boost with a nice rest of about 4 to 5 hours. Then we will come back and do what we need to do. So after it's chilled in the fridge, again, this is like 4 or 5 hours, let those flavors develop. Get in there with a whisk and give it a good stir, get all those solids mixed back in and get it loaded into your machine to churn. My machine's been pre-chilled for about 10 minutes and we're going to do a Ninja Creami one as well. So that's a Ninja Creami Deluxe tub. Whilst everything is churning, we're going to get our chocolate. This is Calabo, 80% chocolate. Right at the end of the churn, you're going to get that put in there. It's akin to kind of like Haagen-Dazs Belgian chocolate sized chunks of chocolate. Oh, my mouth is watering just talking about it. Time to dish up and load up our tubs. This is a large batch, as I said before, so feel free to just knock it in half or do whatever you need to do. But once that's ready, it's in the freezer for a good 12 hours just to get that hardened off. We're going to take it out and scoop some up. Let's point it up at the camera. Let's have a look. Yep, that looks incredible. Get some dished up and here we go. Let's talk more honey pistachio gelato. Perfect pistachio honey gelato with chocolate chips. I mean, they're not chocolate chips, they're kind of chocolate flecks. The texture of this is akin to Haagen-Dazs Belgian chocolate. So, scoops perfectly. I probably actually just reduced the sugar or the honey ever so slightly, because for most people I think this is going to be a little bit too soft. But as you can see, it's straight out of the freezer. There's no weird editing. Straight out of the freezer, the scoops perfectly, which means some people might prefer it a little bit harder, in which case remove like 20 grams worth of honey. That would absolutely do the trick for this. Honey is essentially a natural version of corn syrup, which is a balance of fructose and glucose. It does the same thing as corn syrup. Corn syrup is man-made and honey is not. The taste of the pistachios is perfect. That undertone of the honey comes through, obviously depending on what honey you use. Some honeys are really strong flavored, so just use one that you like. I used to, back in the UK, used to get my honey from Quince Honey Farm down in the southwest, and that had a glorious flavor, lovely color. One of the best honeys I've ever had in my entire life. I now get Old Grumps honey because it's local. It doesn't have a huge amount of flavor, and that's the same for all honey where I live, just because of what grows naturally here. Basically, we live in a desert, which is covered in snow for 5 months and then is bone dry for the rest of the year. So this time it's the Ninja Creami's turn. And as you can see, lovely smooth top there. Whilst that's in the machine spinning on ice cream setting, we are going to get some of our chocolate. This is Belkalade chocolate. I think it's 80% cacao as well. So once the first spin's done, we're going to make that big divot in the middle, put our chocolate in, and we're going to pop it back on to the add-in setting. It doesn't decimate in the Creamy Deluxe like it does in the other ones. Let's get some of this dished up into our little tub. Look at that. The Ninja Creamy one, I mean, you know, even though it doesn't have any overrun, it's still delicious. This is delicious pistachio honey gelato. Those chocolate flecks are out, perfect to get some that are just big enough to bite, so you get a lovely taste of that as well. This is right up there. As I say, this is in my top 10 ice creams, and I'm gonna make another batch of this very, very soon. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to see lots more gelato and American ice cream recipes, I talk about the science of ice cream in my videos. I don't just make crap and hope for the best like a lot of people out there. So if you want to learn how to make the best gelato and ice cream possible, make sure to like and subscribe. See you next week.